The rain hammered down like bullets on the tin roof of the small barn when Yates Emerson heard the desperate whinny of a horse outside his property. And against every instinct that told him to stay dry and mind his own business in the Nevada territory of 1882, he grabbed his hat and stepped into the storm. Through the sheets of rain, he could barely make out the figure of a woman struggling to calm a panicked mare near the fence line of his modest ranch outside Tonopah Junction. The woman wore buckskin clothing that clung to her frame, her long black hair plastered against her face as she spoke in soft tones to the frightened animal. Yates jogged over, his boots sinking into the mud with each step. "You need help," he called out over the thunder. The woman turned sharply, her dark eyes wary and evaluating. She was native, probably Shoshone or Paiute from this region, and looked to be in her early 20s, close to his own 24 years. Her horse was favoring its left front leg badly. "My horse," she said simply, her English clear but accented. She stepped wrong. The storm came fast. Yates moved closer, keeping his movements slow and non-threatening. He had learned young that trust was earned, not demanded, especially with folks who had every reason to be cautious around white settlers. "Let me see. I have a barn shelter, better than standing in this mess." She hesitated, weighing her options in the darkness while lightning split the sky above them. Finally, she nodded once. "Only for the horse." "Fair enough," Yates said. He moved to the mare's other side, and together they slowly coaxed the limping animal toward the barn. The woman kept a steady stream of words flowing in what he assumed was her native tongue, and the horse seemed to calm under her voice despite the pain. Inside the barn, the sudden absence of rain felt almost loud. Yates lit 2 lanterns, casting warm light across the hay-strewn floor and the 3 other horses in their stalls. His own gelding, Copper, nickered a greeting. The woman led her mare to an empty stall and immediately crouched to examine the injured leg. Yates fetched his supplies without being asked, a clean bucket of water, some cloths, and the liniment he used for his own horses. He set them down nearby and stepped back, giving her space. She glanced at the supplies, then at him, something shifting in her expression. "You know horses," she stated, "raised with them. My father bred them before he passed. This is his place, or was." Yates pushed his wet hair back from his forehead. "Name is Yates Emerson. This ranch is called the Broken Creek Spread, though the creek dried up 2 summers ago. I am Luna." She did not offer a last name, and he did not ask. Her hands moved with practiced skill over the mare's leg, feeling for breaks or serious damage. "She will need rest. No break, but the strain is bad. She can stay as long as needed. Storm like this, you should wait it out too. There's a spare room in the house if you want it, or you can bed down in the hay here. I will not bother you either way." Luna looked at him for a long moment, clearly trying to assess his intentions. Whatever she saw must have satisfied her, because she said, "The barn is good. I stay with my horse. I will bring you some dry blankets and food." He started toward the door, then paused. "Luna, your horse is safe here. You are too." She did not respond, but when he glanced back, she was watching him with an expression he could not quite read. Yates made his way through the rain to the house, a simple 4-room structure his father had built with his own hands. Inside, he shook off the water and went about gathering supplies. He found 2 heavy wool blankets, still smelling faintly of cedar from the chest where his mother had stored them before she died of fever 3 years back. He wrapped some cold biscuits, jerked beef, and a chunk of cheese in a clean cloth, then filled a canteen with fresh water. The run back to the barn left him soaked again, but when he entered, he found Luna had removed her wet outer layer and was rubbing down her horse with handfuls of straw. She had stripped down to a simple leather dress that fell to her knees, and her long hair hung in a thick rope over one shoulder. She looked up as he approached. "Here." He set down the blankets and food on a barrel. "It is not much, but it is warm and filling. You are kind." She straightened, and there was something in her voice that suggested she did not encounter kindness often. "Many would have turned me away, or worse." Yates felt the weight of those words. He knew what happened to native people in these parts, the suspicion, the violence, the casual cruelty that white settlers inflicted without thought. "My mother taught me that everyone deserves basic decency. Color of skin does not change that." Luna unwrapped the food and examined it. "Your mother was wise. She was stubborn too. She used to leave food out for the Paiute families that passed through, even when the neighbors complained." He smiled at the memory. "She said they were here first and we were the guests, not the other way around." "What happened to her?" Luna asked, biting into a biscuit. "Fever, came on fast and took her faster. Father followed 6 months later. I think he died of a broken heart as much as anything." Yates leaned against a support post. "Been running this place alone since. It is not much, but it is home." Luna chewed thoughtfully. "You have no wife, no family?" "No. Most folks in town think I am strange, keeping to myself out here. The eligible women want men with bigger prospects, and I cannot blame them." He shrugged. "What about you? You traveling alone by choice?" Her expression shuddered. "My family is gone. Sickness took most. The others scattered to reservations or tried to blend into towns. I chose to stay free, moving between places, taking work where I can find it." She paused. "It is hard. Many will not hire a native woman. Some try to hire me for things I will not do." The bitterness in her voice cut through the warm barn air. Yates nodded slowly. "I am sorry. That is not right." "Right and wrong do not matter much in this world." Luna finished the biscuit and started on the jerky. "Only survival matters. Maybe, but I still think right and wrong count for something." Yates pushed off the post. "I will leave you to rest. If you need anything, the house is the one with the blue door. Just knock." "Yates Emerson," she said as he reached the door. He turned back. "Thank you for all of this." "You are welcome, Luna." He left her there in the golden lamplight, a solitary figure in a barn that suddenly felt less empty than it had in years. The storm raged through the night, and Yates lay awake in his bed, listening to the thunder roll across the Nevada desert. He thought about Luna in the barn, about her wariness and her strength, about the way she had looked at her injured horse with such clear affection. He thought about the life she described, rootless and harsh, and felt a stir of something he could not quite name. When morning came, the world was washed clean. Sunlight streamed through his window, and Yates rose, dressed, and went about his morning routine. He fed the chickens, collected eggs, and started a fire in the stove to make breakfast. He cooked more than usual, some bacon, eggs, and fresh biscuits, along with a pot of strong coffee. He was just plating everything when he heard a knock at the blue door. Luna stood on his porch, her hair neatly braided now, her clothing dry. She looked different in the morning light, younger somehow and beautiful in a way that made his chest tighten. She met his eyes directly. "My horse needs more rest before we can travel. The leg is better but not healed." She took a breath. "I would like to offer my work in exchange for food and shelter while we stay. I can cook, clean, mend, work with animals. I can hunt and fish. I will earn what you give us." Yates stood there with a plate of eggs in his hand, struck by the pride and determination in her face. She was not asking for charity. She was proposing a fair trade, expecting nothing for free. "Luna, you do not have to." "Yes, I do," she interrupted. "I take care of myself. I do not want your pity." He understood that. "All right, but I was about to eat breakfast and I made too much." "You will share it with me first, and then we can talk about work." She hesitated, then nodded. "That is acceptable." They sat at his small kitchen table, an old scarred piece of oak that had served 3 generations of Emersons. Luna ate with careful manners, and Yates found himself watching her when he thought she was not looking. She caught him once, and he quickly focused on his own plate, feeling heat creep up his neck. "This is good," Luna said after a while. "You cook well." "Had to learn after Mother died." "It was either learn or starve," he smiled. "I am no expert, but I can make the basics. Basics are what matter." She sipped her coffee and looked around the kitchen, taking in the simple furnishings, the clean but worn appearance of everything. "You keep a neat home." "Try to." "Feels wrong to let it fall apart after my folks worked so hard on it." Yates refilled their coffee cups. "So, if you are serious about working, I could use help with a lot of things. Fences need mending on the north pasture. The garden is overrun with weeds. I have been meaning to clean out the storage shed but have not had time. And honestly, the house could use a woman's touch. I try, but there are things I just do not see or know how to do properly." Luna listened intently. "I can do all of those things. My mother taught me to garden and preserve food. My father taught me to mend fences and work wood. I am strong. I will work hard." "I do not doubt it." Yates leaned back in his chair. "Here is my offer. You work mornings, taking care of whatever needs doing around the place. Afternoons you can rest, tend to your horse, do whatever you like. I will provide food and shelter for as long as you need it. When your horse is healed and you are ready to move on, you go with my blessing and some supplies for the road." Luna's eyes narrowed slightly. "What is the catch?" "No catch, just fair work for fair compensation." "Men always want something more," she said flatly. Yates met her gaze steadily. "I am not those men. You will sleep in the spare room with a lock on the door. You will eat at this table as an equal. You will be treated with respect." "That is my word, and my word is good. Ask anyone in Tanapa Junction." She studied him for a long time, her dark eyes searching his face for any sign of deception. Finally, she said, "I will try this, but if you break your word, I will leave and you will not stop me." "Fair enough." He extended his hand across the table. "Do we have an agreement?" Luna looked at his hand, then reached out and clasped it firmly. Her palm was calloused and warm. "We have an agreement, Yates Emerson." That first day set the pattern for the days that followed. Luna threw herself into the work with a determination that impressed Yates deeply. She started with the garden, spending hours in the hot sun pulling weeds, tilling soil, and replanting vegetables that had gone wild. She moved through the work with an efficiency that spoke of long practice. Yates went about his own chores, tending to his horses, riding out to check on his small herd of cattle, and fixing things that always seemed to need fixing on a working ranch. But he found his attention drifting to Luna more often than it should. The way she moved with such purpose. The sound of her singing softly in her own language as she worked. The sight of her laughing when one of the barn cats rubbed against her legs in the afternoons. She kept to herself mostly, spending time with her mare in the barn or sitting on the porch with some mending. Yates tried to give her space, but on the third day he found himself drawn to the barn where she was carefully wrapping her horse's leg. "How is she doing?" he asked from the doorway. Luna glanced up. "Better. The swelling is down. Another week and she should be ready for light travel." "That is good." He moved closer. "She is a fine horse. Where did you get her?" "I raised her from a foal. Her mother belonged to my father. When the sickness came, the mother died, and this one was too young to survive alone. I fed her, taught her, and we grew up together." Luna stroked the mare's neck. "Her name is Asha. It means little one, though she is not so little now. She is lucky to have you." Yates leaned against the stall door. "Can I ask you something personal?" Luna looked at him warily. "You can ask. I may not answer." Fair, what is your full name? Just Luna, or is there more? She was quiet for a moment. Luna Grayhawk. My father took the name Grayhawk when he worked for the army as a scout. He thought it would help us be more accepted. It did not help much. Luna Grayhawk, Yates repeated, testing the sound of it. It is a good, strong name. What about your name? Yates is unusual, family name on my mother's side. Her father was Yates Emerson too, tradition, I guess. He smiled. Though I always thought it sounded too fancy for a rancher. It suits you, Luna said simply, and there was something in the way she said it that made his heart skip. They fell into silence, but it was a comfortable one. Yates found himself noticing small details about her. The way her braid fell over her shoulder, the strength in her hands, the intelligence in her eyes. She caught him looking again, and this time she did not look away immediately. "What?" she asked softly. "Nothing. Just thinking this barn feels less lonely with you in it." Luna's expression softened. "Your whole ranch feels less lonely. You carry sadness, Yates Emerson. I see it sometimes when you think no one is watching." Her perception caught him off guard. "I suppose I do. Losing both parents, being out here alone, it weighs on a person. I never really let myself feel it all, just kept working." "Work can only cover pain for so long," Luna said. "Eventually you must face it." "Is that what you do, face your pain, every day?" She turned back to Ayasha. "But I also keep moving. If I stop too long, it catches me." Maybe stopping is not always bad. Maybe sometimes we need to stop and let ourselves heal. Yates surprised himself with the words. He had not consciously thought about it before, but saying it aloud felt true. Luna did not respond, but he saw her shoulders relax slightly, as if something in his words had reached her. That evening, Yates insisted Luna eat dinner with him in the house rather than taking food to the barn. She agreed reluctantly, and they sat across from each other at the old oak table, sharing a simple meal of stew and bread. "This is good," Luna said. "You made this." "I did. My mother's recipe." "Well, my attempt at her recipe, hers was better." "It is very good. You should not doubt yourself." Luna sopped up gravy with her bread. "You are kind, Yates. Too kind, maybe." "Why too kind?" "Because kindness can be taken advantage of. People will use you if you let them." "Maybe, but I would rather be kind and occasionally foolish than hard and always alone." He met her eyes. "Besides, having you here is not foolish. You have done more work in 3 days than I have managed in 3 weeks. The place looks better already." Luna flushed slightly, and he realized it might have been the first compliment she had received in a long time. "I told you I would work hard." "You did, and you kept your word. I appreciate that." They continued eating in companionable silence. After dinner, Luna helped clean the dishes without being asked, and they worked side by side at the wash basin. Their hands brushed accidentally at one point, and both of them froze for just a moment before continuing as if nothing had happened. But Yates felt the touch like a spark, and from the way Luna's breathing changed, he suspected she had felt it too. The days turned into a week, then into 2. Luna's work transformed the ranch. The garden flourished under her care, producing more vegetables than Yates had seen in years. The fences stood straight and strong. The storage shed was organized and clean. Inside the house, she had mended curtains, scrubbed floors, and brought a sense of order that had been missing since his mother's death. But more than the physical improvements, her presence changed the feel of the place. The ranch no longer felt like a lonely outpost, but like a home. They fell into easy routines, working together in the mornings, sharing meals, talking in the evenings about everything and nothing. Yates found himself looking forward to seeing Luna each day. The way she greeted him in the mornings with a small smile, the sound of her humming as she worked, the sight of her sitting on the porch at sunset, her face peaceful in the golden light. He was falling for her, and the realization both thrilled and terrified him. For her part, Luna seemed to be softening too. She laughed more easily. She shared stories about her childhood, her family, her dreams. She asked about his life, his hopes, his plans for the ranch. The walls she had built around herself were slowly coming down. One evening, nearly 3 weeks after she had arrived, they sat on the porch together watching the stars emerge. Ayesha was nearly healed, able to walk without a limp now. Soon Luna would have no reason to stay. "Your horse is looking strong," Yates said, trying to keep his voice neutral. "She is. A few more days and we can travel." Luna did not sound happy about it. "Where will you go?" "I do not know. There is a Shoshone settlement to the north. I might go there, see if they need help." She paused. "Or I might head to California. I hear there is work there." "California is far." "Yes." They sat in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging between them. Finally, Yates said, "Luna, I need to tell you something." She turned to look at him, her expression guarded. "What?" "These past weeks, having you here, it has meant more to me than I can properly say. This place, my life, it all feels different now. Better. Fuller, and I realize that is not your burden to carry. You have your own life, your own plans. But I would be a coward if I did not tell you that the thought of you leaving, it hurts." Luna stared at him, her eyes wide in the starlight. "Yates, I am not asking you to stay. I know you value your freedom, and I respect that. I just needed you to know that you have made a difference here. You have made a difference to me." He looked down at his hands. "I care about you, Luna, more than I probably should." The silence stretched between them, and Yates felt his heart hammering in his chest. He had laid himself bare, and now he waited for her response, whether it would be rejection or something else. "I care about you too," Luna said quietly, and his head snapped up. She was looking at him with an expression of wonder and fear mixed together. "I did not want to. I told myself it was foolish, that I would just leave when Ayesha healed. But these weeks, being here with you, feeling safe and valued, it has changed something in me. I find myself wanting to stay, and that terrifies me." "Why does it terrify you?" "Because every time I have had something good, it has been taken away. My family, my home, my way of life, everything I have lost. I do not know if I can bear to lose again." Her voice shook. "And I do not know if you understand what it would mean to have me stay. People in town, they will talk. They will judge you for taking up with a native woman. It could hurt you." Yates reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and took her hand in his. She let him, her fingers curling around his. "Luna, I do not care what people in town think. I care about you. I care about us. If you want to go, I will not stop you. But if you want to stay, if you want to see where this could go, then I am asking you to stay." Luna's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "You make it sound so simple." "Maybe it is simple. Maybe we complicate things too much." He squeezed her hand gently. "Stay, Luna, please. Not as a worker, not as a guest, but as someone who belongs here. With me." She searched his face for a long moment, then leaned forward and kissed him. It was soft and tentative, a question more than a statement. Yates responded gently, his free hand coming up to cup her cheek. When they pulled apart, both were breathing hard. "I will stay," Luna whispered. "I will try. That is all I ask." Yates pulled her close, and she rested her head on his shoulder. They sat like that for a long time, watching the stars wheel overhead and feeling the world shift beneath them. The next morning, everything was different and yet the same. They still worked together, still shared meals, but now there was an openness between them that had not existed before. Yates caught himself watching Luna with undisguised affection, and she returned his looks with shy smiles. About a week after their conversation on the porch, Yates suggested they ride into Tonopah Junction for supplies. Luna hesitated, clearly anxious about facing the town, but she agreed. They saddled up Copper and Ayasha and rode the 5 miles to town together. Tanapa Junction was a small settlement, barely more than a main street with a general store, a saloon, a church, and a scattering of houses. When they rode in together, heads turned. Yates felt Luna tense beside him, but he kept his expression calm and friendly. They tied up their horses outside the general store, and Yates held the door open for Luna. Inside, Mrs. Patterson, the store owner's wife, looked up from behind the counter. Her eyes widened when she saw Luna. "Yates Emerson, is that you, Mrs.?" Patterson was a plump woman in her 50s with a perpetual expression of curiosity. "It is, Mrs. Patterson. I need to stock up on some supplies." He gestured to Luna. "This is Luna Grayhawk. She has been helping out at the ranch, Mrs." Patterson's eyes flickered between them, clearly assessing the situation. "I see. Well, welcome to Tanapa Junction, Miss Grayhawk." "Thank you," Luna said quietly. They moved through the store gathering what they needed: flour, sugar, coffee, some canned goods, and fabric that Luna had shyly mentioned she could use for new clothes. Yates noticed people watching them, whispering to each other, but he ignored them at the counter as Mrs. Patterson was tallying their purchases. Sheriff Dawson walked in. He was a grizzled man in his 60s who had known Yates since he was a boy. "Yates, good to see you," the sheriff said, then noticed Luna. His expression grew cautious. "Madam?" "Sheriff," Yates said. "Luna is staying at my ranch helping out." "That's so." The sheriff's tone was neutral, but his eyes were sharp. "Everything all right out there?" "Everything is fine. Better than fine, actually." Yates met the man's gaze steadily. "Why would it not be?" "No reason, just checking." "Folks like to talk, you know." "Folks can talk all they want, does not change anything." Yates paid for their supplies and gathered the packages. "We will be heading back now." "Good day, Sheriff." "Mrs. Patterson." Outside, Luna took a shaky breath. "That was uncomfortable, I know, but we did it. And now everyone knows you are with me. They will talk, but they will get used to it." He loaded the supplies onto Copper, then turned to face her. "Luna, if this is too hard, if you want to leave to avoid the gossip—" "No," she interrupted. "I said I would stay, and I mean it. I have faced worse than whispers and stares. As long as you stand with me, I can face anything." "Always," Yates promised, and kissed her there on the main street of Tanapa Junction for anyone to see. The ride back to the ranch was quiet but companionable. When they arrived, they unloaded the supplies together, and Luna started preparing dinner while Yates tended to the horses. That evening, as they ate, Luna said, "I want to make this place more of a home. Our home. May I rearrange things, add some touches? Luna, this is your home now. Do whatever you like with it." He smiled. "I trust your judgment." Over the following weeks, Luna transformed the house subtly but significantly. She used the fabric they had bought to make new curtains in warm colors. She arranged wildflowers in jars on the windowsills. She moved furniture to create a cozier feel. She even painted a beautiful design on the wall of the main room, incorporating symbols from her heritage. Yates loved every change. The house felt alive again, filled with beauty and meaning. More than that, it felt like a home built by two people instead of the empty shell of his parents' memory. They grew closer as summer deepened into fall. They worked together, laughed together, and learned each other's rhythms and moods. Yates taught Luna to read English better, spending evenings with her going through his mother's old books. Luna taught him words in her language and shared stories of her people's traditions. One evening in early October, as they sat by the fire, Yates asked, "Luna, will you marry me?" She looked up from her mending, her eyes wide. "Marry you? Yes. I know it is not perfect. I know people will talk and some will disapprove. But I love you and I want you to be my wife. I want to build a life with you, officially and forever." He took her hands in his. "Will you?" Luna's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. "Yes, yes, I will marry you, Yates Emerson." He pulled her into his arms and kissed her deeply. When they pulled apart, both were grinning like fools. "When?" she asked breathlessly. "As soon as we can arrange it. I will talk to Reverend Mitchell tomorrow." The next day, Yates rode into town alone and went straight to the church. Reverend Mitchell was a kind man in his 40s who had known Yates's parents well. When Yates explained what he wanted, the Reverend listened carefully. "Yates, I will marry you and Luna if that is what you both want. But I need to be honest with you. There will be people in this community who object. They will make things difficult for you both." "I know, Reverend, but I love her and she loves me. That has to count for something." Reverend Mitchell smiled. "It counts for everything. When would you like to do this?" "As soon as possible. This Sunday if you can manage it." "This Sunday it is. Bring Luna by before then so I can meet her properly." 3 days later, Yates and Luna stood before Reverend Mitchell in the small church. There were no other guests, just the three of them and the afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows. Luna wore a simple dress she had made from the fabric they bought. But to Yates, she had never looked more beautiful. They spoke their vows, promising to love and honor each other for as long as they lived. When Reverend Mitchell pronounced them husband and wife, Yates kissed Luna with all the love and hope he felt, and she kissed him back with equal fervor. They walked out of the church as Mr. and Mrs. Emerson, hand in hand and ready to face whatever came next. That first year of marriage was not easy. As predicted, some people in Tonopah Junction disapproved openly. Mrs. Patterson grew cold and unhelpful when they came to the store. A few of the ranchers Yates had done business with stopped coming around. There were even some ugly incidents. Someone threw a rock through their window with a note telling them to leave. Another time, they found one of their fences torn down deliberately. But for every person who turned against them, there was someone who stood by them. Reverend Mitchell remained a steady friend. Sheriff Dawson, whatever his private thoughts, made it clear that any violence against them would be dealt with harshly. And slowly, a few other people began to warm to them. A widow named Mrs. Chen, who ran the boarding house, a young doctor named Tobias who had recently moved to town, and a few of the Mexican families who farmed land nearby and understood prejudice all too well. Through it all, Yates and Luna leaned on each other. They built their life together with determination and love. The ranch prospered under their joint efforts. Luna's gardens produced abundant food, which they preserved for winter. Yates's horse breeding improved with Luna's intuitive understanding of the animals. They even acquired a few more cattle, slowly building a small but successful herd. More importantly, they were happy. They talked for hours about everything, learning each other's hearts and minds. They laughed together over small things, like when Yates burned dinner or when Luna accidentally let the chickens into the house. They comforted each other through hard days and celebrated victories together. In their second year of marriage, Luna began to show signs of pregnancy. She told Yates one morning in spring as they worked in the garden together. "I am with child," she said simply, her hand resting on her still flat stomach. Yates dropped his shovel and swept her into his arms, spinning her around until she laughed and demanded to be put down. "When? How far along?" "I think about 3 months. The baby should come in autumn." "A baby," Yates breathed, awe filling his voice. "We are going to be parents." "You are happy?" Luna asked, searching his face. "Happy does not begin to cover it." He kissed her softly. "I love you so much, Luna. You have given me everything." As her pregnancy progressed, Yates became fiercely protective. He insisted she not overwork herself. though Luna laughed at his concerns and continued working in the garden and around the house. He rode into town more often to spare her the journey and brought back treats he thought she might enjoy. Dr. Tobias checked on Luna regularly, and he was impressed with her health and strength. "Everything looks excellent, Mrs. Emerson. You are doing wonderfully." On a cool October evening, as the first leaves were turning gold, Luna went into labor. Yates sent for Dr. Tobias and Mrs. Chen, who had delivered many babies in her time. Then he stayed by Luna's side, holding her hand through every contraction, wiping sweat from her forehead and telling her how strong and brave she was. It was a long night, but as dawn broke, their son entered the world with a lusty cry. Dr. Tobias wrapped the baby and placed him in Luna's arms. She looked down at the tiny face, tears streaming down her own, and whispered, "Hello, little one." Yates touched the baby's soft head with wonder. "He is perfect. What should we name him?" Luna asked. They had discussed names before, agreeing that they would blend both their heritages. "I was thinking William," Yates said. "It was my grandfather's name and your father's name. His name was Nakoa. It means brave warrior." "William Nakoa Emerson," Yates said, testing it. "What do you think?" Luna smiled through her tears. "It is perfect. He is perfect." They spent the first days in a haze of new parenthood, marveling at every sound William made, every expression that crossed his tiny face. Yates proved to be a devoted father, walking the floor with William when he cried, changing soiled cloths without complaint, and singing lullabies he half remembered from his own childhood. Luna watched her husband with their son and fell even more deeply in love with him. She had never imagined she could have this, a real family, a safe home, and a partner who truly valued her. As William grew, he became the joy of their lives. He had Yates's blue eyes and Luna's dark hair. He was curious and fearless, crawling early and walking by 10 months. They taught him words in both English and Shoshone, wanting him to know both parts of his heritage. The presence of a child also seemed to soften some of the remaining hardness in Tanapa Junction. Mrs. Patterson thawed considerably when she saw William in town, cooing over him despite herself. Even some of the ranchers who had shunned them began nodding greetings when they passed. By the time William was 2, Luna was pregnant again. This time she gave birth to a daughter they named Sarah Iasha Emerson, after Yates's mother and Luna's beloved horse. Sarah had Luna's dark eyes and a calm temperament that contrasted with her boisterous brother. Life fell into a rhythm. The ranch continued to prosper. William and Sarah grew strong and healthy, learning to ride almost before they could walk properly. Yates and Luna worked side by side, building not just a ranch but a legacy. When William was 6 and Sarah was 4, they welcomed another son, Thomas Kai Emerson. Kai was a word from Luna's language meaning willow tree, symbolizing flexibility and strength. Thomas inherited an equal mix of both parents, with medium-toned skin, brown eyes, and a laugh that filled the house. The children grew up knowing they were loved and valued. Yates and Luna made sure to teach them about both sides of their heritage. They attended church services in town, but Luna also taught them the spiritual traditions of her people. They learned English, but also learned Shoshone. They were raised to be proud of who they were, regardless of what anyone else thought. There were still challenges. As the children grew older, they occasionally faced unkind words or treatment in town. William came home once with a black eye after fighting a boy who called his mother a savage. Yates had to have a difficult conversation with his son about when to fight and when to walk away. "I know it is hard, son," Yates said, sitting with William on the porch. "People can be cruel, especially about things they do not understand, but you cannot fight everyone who says something ignorant." "But he said terrible things about Mother," William protested, his young face fierce. And that was wrong of him. But your mother is strong and proud. She does not need you to defend her with your fists. You defend her by being a good man, by treating everyone with respect, and by proving through your actions that they are wrong about us. Luna, who had been listening from the doorway, came and sat with them. Your father is right, William. I am proud that you want to defend me, but I am more proud when you defend me by being kind, smart, and brave. That is the best revenge against small minds. William looked between his parents and nodded slowly. I understand. As the years passed, the Emerson children became known in Tanapa Junction as hardworking, respectful, and capable. William had his father's way with horses and became known as the best young rider in the county. Sarah inherited her mother's green thumb, and soon the Emerson Gardens were the talk of the region. Thomas, the youngest, was clever with his hands and helped his father with intricate repairs and improvements around the ranch. By the time Yates was in his 40s and Luna in her late 30s, they had built something remarkable. Their ranch was successful and respected. Their children were growing into fine young adults, and their love had only deepened with time. One evening, with the children all occupied with their own activities, Yates and Luna found themselves alone on the porch, just as they had been all those years ago when she first agreed to stay. You ever regret it? Yates asked, taking her hand. Staying here, marrying me, building this life. Luna looked at him with surprise. Never, not for one moment, do you? Never, he echoed. You gave me everything I did not even know I needed. You took a lonely, sad place and made it a home full of love and laughter. You gave me 3 beautiful children. You gave me purpose and joy. I love you more today than I did the day we married, and I loved you pretty fiercely even then. Luna leaned her head on his shoulder. I was so frightened that night in the storm. Frightened of the weather, of what would happen to Ayasha, of what some strange white man might do if I asked for help. But you showed me kindness when I expected cruelty. You offered me respect when I expected to be used. You loved me when I thought I would be alone forever. You are the best man I have ever known, Yates Emerson. He kissed the top of her head. We built something good here, Luna. Something that will last beyond us. Yes, we did. As they sat together watching the sun set over the Nevada desert, they could hear their children's voices from inside the house, arguing good-naturedly about something. The sound made them both smile. The years continued to roll forward. William, at 19, married a young woman named Clara from a neighboring ranch. She was a strong, sensible girl who fit into the family easily and adored Luna from the start. They built a small house on the Emerson property and began their own life together. Sarah, at 17, surprised everyone by deciding to study teaching. She wanted to open a school that would welcome all children, regardless of their heritage. Yates and Luna supported her dream wholeheartedly, and she went to Carson City to study, promising to return and start her school in Tanapa Junction. Thomas, at 15, was still finding his way but showed a talent for working with wood. He apprenticed with a carpenter in town and began making furniture that combined traditional native designs with practical Western styles. His pieces became sought after, and he talked about one day opening his own workshop. Yates and Luna watched their children spread their wings with pride and some bittersweet nostalgia for the days when they were small. But they also looked forward to the future, to grandchildren and new adventures. One spring morning when Yates was 48 and Luna was 44, they learned that Luna was pregnant again. They had thought their family was complete, but apparently fate had other plans. Are you all right with this? Luna asked, her hand on her stomach. We are not young anymore. Yates laughed and pulled her close. We are not that old either, and honestly, I am delighted. One more blessing from you. This pregnancy was harder than the others. Luna was tired more often, and Dr. Tobias, now gray-haired and semi-retired, urged her to rest more than she was used to. But she remained healthy, and in late autumn she gave birth to twin girls. They named them Hope Helona and Grace Kiona, blending English and native names as they had with all their children. Helona meant fortunate, and Kiona meant brown hills. The twins were tiny but healthy, with perfect little faces that enchanted the entire family. William and Clara doted on their new sisters. Sarah came home from her studies to help. Thomas proved surprisingly adept at soothing crying babies. The house was full and chaotic and perfect. As the twins grew, it became clear they had very different personalities. Hope was bold and outgoing, while Grace was thoughtful and quiet. Together they kept Yates and Luna busy and laughing. By the time the twins were 5, Sarah had returned to Tanapa Junction and opened her school. True to her vision, she welcomed all children, and the school became a model of integration and quality education. The town had grown more accepting over the years, partly due to the example the Emerson family set and partly due to changing times. William and Clara had 2 children of their own, a son named Nathan and a daughter named Rose. They helped run the ranch alongside Yates, preparing to take it over fully one day. Thomas married a Mexican woman named Maria, whose family farmed nearby. They opened a furniture workshop together and built a thriving business. As Yates entered his late 50s and Luna her early 50s, they found themselves at the center of a large, boisterous, loving family. Their home was always full of children and grandchildren, laughter and stories, good food and warm companionship. One evening, at a family dinner with everyone gathered around the extended table, Yates stood and raised his glass. "I want to make a toast," he said, and the table quieted. Nearly 30 years ago, on a stormy night, a woman and her horse appeared at my fence line. I had no idea that helping her would change my entire life. But it did. Luna, you walked into my lonely existence and filled it with love, purpose, and family. You are the strongest, bravest, most beautiful person I have ever known. Everything good in my life flows from that night when you asked for shelter, and I was smart enough to say yes." Luna's eyes were bright with tears. Around the table, their children and grandchildren watched with smiles. "So here is my toast," Yates continued. "To Luna, my wife, my partner, my love. To the family we built together. To the life we created from nothing but determination and love. And to the many years still ahead of us." To Luna, everyone chorused, raising their glasses. Luna stood and went to Yates, kissing him in front of everyone. "And to you, Yates Emerson, you saw me when others looked through me. You valued me when others dismissed me. You loved me when I thought love was impossible. You are my heart." The family erupted in cheers and applause. The rest of the evening was filled with food, laughter, and stories, the kind of evening that becomes a treasured memory. As the years advanced into Yates's 60s and Luna's late 50s, they gradually handed over more of the ranch operations to William and Nathan. They still worked, but at a slower pace, taking time to enjoy the fruits of their decades of labor. They traveled a bit, visiting places they had never seen. They went to San Francisco and marveled at the ocean. They visited the Shoshone settlements to the north, and Luna reconnected with distant relatives who welcomed her and her family warmly. Mostly, though, they enjoyed their home. They took walks together through their land, remembering all the years and changes they had witnessed. They sat on their porch in the evenings, watching the sunset just as they had when they were young. Hope and Grace grew into remarkable young women. Hope became a nurse, studying under Dr. Tobias before he retired, and eventually taking over much of his practice. Grace inherited Luna's artistic talents and Thomas's skill with crafts. She created beautiful weavings and beadwork that honored her native heritage while incorporating new styles. When Yates was 68 and Luna 64, they celebrated their 30th wedding anniversary. The family threw a huge celebration at the ranch. It seemed like half of Tonopah Junction showed up, a testament to how much the Emersons were valued in the community. Standing before everyone, Yates and Luna renewed their vows, speaking the same words they had said 3 decades before. But now those words were enriched by years of lived experience, of challenges overcome together, of joys shared and sorrows weathered. "I love you," Yates said, holding both her hands. "Today, tomorrow, and always." "Always," Luna echoed, tears of joy streaming down her face. The party lasted long into the night, with music and dancing and more food than anyone could eat. As it finally wound down and the last guests departed, Yates and Luna found themselves alone on their porch once more. 30 years, Luna mused. It feels both like forever and like no time at all. "I know what you mean." Yates put his arm around her. "Thank you for saying yes, for staying, for building this with me. Thank you for opening your barn to a frightened woman and her horse, for seeing me as a person, not just as my heritage, for loving me without reservation." She leaned into him. "We have had a good life, Yates." "The best life," he agreed. "And it is not over yet. We have more years ahead, more grandchildren to spoil, more sunsets to watch together." "Yes," Luna said with satisfaction. "Many more, and they did." They lived to see all their children married and settled. They welcomed over a dozen grandchildren and even a few great-grandchildren. They saw the ranch prosper and grow into one of the most successful in the region. They witnessed Tonopah Junction transform from a small, sometimes hostile settlement into a thriving, diverse community where their mixed family was not just accepted but celebrated. Through it all, their love remained the foundation. They still held hands. They still laughed together. They still looked at each other with the wonder of people who knew how lucky they were to have found each other. When Yates was 75 and Luna was 71, they sat on their porch on a warm summer evening. The ranch was alive with activity. Several grandchildren were playing in the yard. William and Nathan were working with the horses. The women of the family were preparing dinner in the house, and voices and laughter drifted out through the open windows. "You remember that storm?" Luna asked suddenly. "The night we met?" "Every detail," Yates said. "I remember seeing you trying to calm Ayasha, both of you soaked and frightened. I remember thinking you were the most determined person I had ever seen. I remember being terrified that you would turn me away or worse. And then you offered help so simply, like it was the most natural thing in the world." Luna squeezed his hand. "You changed my life that night, Yates Emerson. We changed each other's lives." He brought her hand to his lips and kissed it gently. "You took a half-lived existence and made it full. You took loneliness and replaced it with love. You are everything to me, Luna. Everything." She turned to look at him, her dark eyes still bright and beautiful despite the lines time had carved around them. "And you are everything to me, my shelter in every storm, my home, my heart." They kissed, soft and sweet, a kiss that held 30 years of love and commitment. As the sun set over the Nevada desert, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, Yates and Luna Emerson sat together surrounded by the family they had built and the life they had created. The ranch stretched out around them, prosperous and peaceful. Inside the house, dinner was nearly ready, and soon they would all gather around the big table together. From that stormy night when a desperate woman had asked for shelter for her horse to this perfect evening surrounded by love and family, they had traveled an incredible journey together. They had faced prejudice and hardship, celebrated triumphs and weathered sorrows. Through it all, they had remained united. Two people from different worlds who had built a world all their own. As the stars began to emerge in the darkening sky, just as they had on that night so long ago when Luna first agreed to stay, Yates pulled his wife close. "I would do it all again," he said softly. "Every moment, every challenge, every joy, all of it just to end up here with you." Luna rested her head on his shoulder exactly where it belonged. "So would I, my love, so would I." And there, on the porch of the ranch they had built together, surrounded by the evidence of a life well lived and a love that had endured, Yates and Luna Emerson watched the stars come out, grateful for every moment they had been given and for all the moments still to come. Their story, which had begun with a simple act of kindness on a stormy night, had blossomed into something beautiful and lasting, a testament to the power of love to bridge any divide and overcome any obstacle. The next morning dawned clear and bright, as mornings do when you have everything you need. Yates woke first, as he usually did, and lay for a moment watching Luna sleep. Even after all these years, the sight of her peaceful face filled him with tenderness. He rose quietly and went to start the coffee, a routine so ingrained that he could do it half asleep. By the time Luna emerged from their bedroom, the kitchen smelled of coffee and bacon. She smiled at the sight of her husband cooking breakfast, his silver hair catching the morning light. "Good morning," she said, wrapping her arms around him from behind. "Good morning, my love." He turned in her embrace to kiss her forehead. "Did you sleep well? Always do when I am next to you." She released him and poured herself coffee. "What are our plans today?" "I thought we might ride out to the north pasture. William mentioned the fence might need some attention. Nothing urgent, but we could check it together, just like the old days." Luna's eyes lit up. "I would like that, just the two of us." After breakfast, they saddled their horses. Copper had long since passed, as had Ayasha, but their descendants carried on. Yates rode a sturdy gelding named Rusty, while Luna rode a mare called Dawn, granddaughter of the beloved Ayasha. They rode out across their land, taking their time and enjoying the perfect weather. The ranch looked beautiful in the morning light, green pastures dotted with healthy cattle, fences in good repair, and buildings standing strong and well-maintained. "We did well," Luna said as they rode. "This place was struggling when I arrived. Now look at it." "We did it together," Yates reminded her. "I could never have managed this alone. Your knowledge, your hard work, your vision, it all contributed to this success." They reached the north pasture and examined the fence. It was in better shape than expected, needing only minor repairs. They worked together to fix a few loose boards, their movements coordinated from years of partnership. As they finished, Luna straightened and looked out across the land. "Yates, I want to ask you something. Anything. You think our children understand what we built here? Not just the ranch, but the family, the legacy. Do you think they know how important it is?" Yates considered the question carefully. "I think they do. We raised them to value family, hard work, and treating everyone with respect. They have taken those lessons and built their own good lives. William runs the ranch with integrity. Sarah educated a generation of children to be more accepting and wise. Thomas created art that honors both sides of his heritage, and the twins are just beginning their own journeys, but I have faith they will do wonderful things." "You are right," Luna smiled. "I sometimes worry we did not do enough, but then I look at our children and grandchildren and see good, strong people. We did well. We did." Yates moved closer and took her hand. "And our legacy is not just what we built, but how we built it, with love, respect, and determination. That is what they will carry forward." They mounted their horses and rode back slowly, enjoying the journey as much as the destination. When they returned to the ranch, they found several grandchildren waiting for them, eager to hear stories or get help with some project or another. The days continued in this pleasant pattern. Yates and Luna were active and engaged in life, but no longer burdened by the heavy labor of their younger years. They had time to enjoy simple pleasures, reading together in the evening, playing with grandchildren, maintaining the small garden Luna still kept near the house, and taking rides across their land. One autumn day, when the air had turned crisp and the leaves on the few trees around the ranch house had turned gold, the family gathered for a special occasion. Grace was getting married to a young man named Daniel who worked as a carpenter with Thomas. It was to be a big celebration, and preparations had been underway for weeks. The wedding took place at the ranch, under the open sky with the whole community invited. Grace looked beautiful in a dress that Luna and the other women had made together, incorporating both traditional white lace and intricate native beadwork. Daniel stood tall and proud, clearly overwhelmed by his good fortune in marrying such a woman. Reverend Mitchell, now quite elderly himself but still officiating at important events, presided over the ceremony. As Yates walked Grace down the aisle, he thought about his own wedding day all those years ago, just him and Luna and the Reverend in an empty church. This was so different, surrounded by family and community, but the essence was the same. Two people promising to build a life together. After the ceremony, there was dancing and feasting. Yates and Luna danced together, moving slowly to the music, still perfectly in tune with each other. "Another one married," Luna said as they swayed. "Soon Hope will find someone and then all our children will be settled." "Are you sad about it?" Yates asked. "A little. They are all so grown up. Where did the time go?" she smiled. "But mostly I am proud. We raised them well, and now they are making their own families. That is how it should be." "It is." Yates pulled her closer. "And we still have each other, always." As they danced, surrounded by the family they had created and the community they had helped build, both felt a deep sense of satisfaction and peace. Their journey together had been remarkable, full of challenges overcome and joys celebrated. And it was not over yet. The years continued to pass gently. Yates and Luna remained healthy and active well into their 70s. They took great pleasure in their expanding family, with more grandchildren being born regularly. The ranch continued to prosper under William and Nathan's management. Sarah's school thrived and earned recognition throughout Nevada. Thomas and Maria's furniture business expanded to serve customers across the West. Grace and Daniel built a good life together, and Hope eventually married a young doctor who came to help her practice. Through it all, Yates and Luna remained the center of the family, the foundation on which everything else was built. Their home was where everyone gathered for holidays and celebrations. Their wisdom was sought for important decisions. Their love story was told and retold, an inspiration to younger generations. When Yates was 78 and Luna 74, they decided to take one more trip. They wanted to see the ocean again, to watch the sun set over the Pacific one more time. William insisted on accompanying them, worried about them traveling alone at their age, but they gently refused. "We will be fine," Yates assured his son. "Your mother and I have been taking care of each other for almost 40 years. I think we can manage a trip to the coast." They made the journey slowly, stopping often to rest and enjoy the sights. When they finally reached San Francisco, they stood on the beach together, watching the waves crash against the shore. "It is just as beautiful as I remembered," Luna said, the sea breeze whipping her silver-streaked hair around her face. "More beautiful," Yates said, but he was looking at her, not the ocean. She caught his look and laughed. "You old romantic, guilty as charged." He took her hand. "I love you, Luna Grayhawk Emerson." "And I love you, Yates Emerson." They stayed at the coast for a week, indulging in the luxury of time with no pressing responsibilities. They walked on the beach, ate at restaurants, and simply enjoyed being together. On their last night, they sat on their hotel balcony watching the sun set over the water. "This has been perfect," Luna said. "Thank you for bringing me here. Thank you for coming with me. Thank you for every adventure we have shared." Yates reached over and took her hand. "I have been thinking about our life together. Do you have any regrets?" Luna considered the question seriously. "Small ones, perhaps. I regret the years I lost before I met you, wandering alone and afraid. I regret that we faced prejudice and that our children sometimes suffered because of who their parents are. But the big things? No, no regrets at all. You gave me a home, a family, and a purpose. You gave me love when I thought I would always be alone. How could I regret any of that?" "I feel the same. Every challenge was worth it to have this life with you." He raised her hand to his lips. "You are the best thing that ever happened to me, Luna, the very best." As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant colors, they sat together in comfortable silence, grateful for everything they had shared and everything they still had. They returned home to a hero's welcome from the grandchildren, who had missed them terribly. Life settled back into its pleasant rhythm. They continued to be active in the ranch and in their community, but they also made sure to take time for themselves, for quiet conversations and peaceful moments. When Yates turned 80 and Luna 76, the family threw a massive celebration. It seemed like everyone they had ever known came to the ranch to honor them. There were speeches and toasts, reminiscences and laughter. Their children presented them with a beautiful quilt that all the women in the family had worked on together, depicting scenes from their life. The barn where they met, the house they built, images of their children and grandchildren. Standing before everyone, Yates struggled to find words adequate to express his feelings. Finally, he simply said, "Thank you all for being here. Luna and I have been blessed beyond measure. Our family, our friends, our community, you have all enriched our lives in ways we can never fully express. We love you all." Luna added, "When I arrived at this ranch 42 years ago, I was alone and frightened, with nothing but a lame horse and desperation. Yates gave me shelter, respect, and eventually love. Together we built all of this." She gestured to encompass the ranch, the family, everything. "Never doubt what two people can create when they love each other and work together. Thank you for being part of our creation." There was not a dry eye in the crowd. As Yates entered his early 80s and Luna her late 70s, they began to slow down noticeably. They no longer rode out to check fences. They spent more time sitting on the porch and less time working. But their minds remained sharp, and their love for each other never diminished. One spring morning, Yates woke to find Luna already up and sitting on the porch, wrapped in a shawl against the cool air. He made coffee and brought her a cup, settling into the chair beside her. "You are up early," he observed. "I could not sleep. I was thinking about everything." She accepted the coffee gratefully. "Yates, we have had such a good life. I want you to know that if something happens to me, if I go first, you must not grieve too long. You must keep living." "Luna, no, let me say this. We are old now. We will not have many more years. And I need you to know that every single day with you has been a gift. You made me happier than I ever imagined possible. But when my time comes, I want you to remember our joy, not feel sad." Yates set down his coffee and took both her hands. "I will grieve, Luna. How could I not? You are my heart. But I promise to also remember our joy, our love, and the beautiful life we built. And the same goes for you. If I go first, you must keep living and loving our family. I promise." She leaned forward and kissed him softly. "Whatever time we have left, let us make the most of it. We will." And they did. They spent their remaining years surrounded by love, continuing to be the heart of their family. They celebrated more weddings, welcomed more great-grandchildren, and watched their legacy grow and flourish. When Yates was 84 and Luna was 80, they celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. Half a century of marriage, built on a foundation of mutual respect, deep love, and unwavering commitment. The celebration was smaller this time, just close family, but no less meaningful. As they renewed their vows for the second time, their voices were weaker, but their conviction was as strong as ever. 50 years had not diminished their love, it had only deepened and enriched it. That night, lying in bed together, Luna said, "50 years, Yates, can you believe it?" "Barely. Sometimes it feels like you just arrived with Ayasha asking for shelter. Other times it feels like we have always been together." He stroked her hair, now pure white but still beautiful. "I would do it all again in a heartbeat." "So would I, my love, so would I." They fell asleep holding hands, as they had done for 50 years. Yates and Luna lived several more peaceful years, watching their great-grandchildren grow, enjoying the ranch that had been their life's work, and treasuring every moment together. Their health remained reasonably good, though they both moved slower and tired more easily. One evening, when Yates was 87 and Luna was 83, they sat on their beloved porch watching the sun set. It was a perfect Nevada evening, warm but not hot, with a gentle breeze and a sky painted in brilliant colors. "I never tire of this view," Luna said softly. "Neither do I." Yates squeezed her hand. "I am so grateful, Luna, for everything, for you saying yes to my proposal, for every day we have had together, for the family we created. I am the luckiest man who ever lived. I am the lucky one. You saw me when others looked away. You valued me when others dismissed me. You loved me completely." She rested her head on his shoulder. "Whatever comes next, we face it together. Together. Always together." As the sun dipped below the horizon and the first stars appeared, they sat in peaceful silence, two people who had found each other against all odds and built something beautiful that would last long after they were gone. Yates lived to be 90 years old, and Luna lived to 86. They passed within months of each other, having been blessed with long lives, good health for most of those years, and the joy of being surrounded by family to the very end. When Yates finally passed peacefully in his sleep, Luna was holding his hand. She followed him just 3 months later, as if she could not bear to be without him for very long. The family grieved, of course, but they also celebrated lives so well lived and a love that had been truly extraordinary. They were buried on their ranch, on a small hill overlooking the land they had loved and worked together. The entire community came to pay their respects, a testament to the impact they had made. At the funeral, William stood to speak about his parents. "My mother and father came from different worlds. By all conventional wisdom, they should never have met, should never have married, and should never have succeeded. But they did all those things because they had something most people only dream of: true love, mutual respect, and unwavering determination. They built this ranch, raised 5 children, helped build a community, and loved each other every single day for over 50 years. Their legacy is not just this land or even our family. Their legacy is the proof that love can bridge any divide, overcome any obstacle, and create something beautiful and lasting. I will miss them every day, but I am so grateful I got to be their son." Sarah added, "Our mother taught us to be proud of who we are, to honor all parts of our heritage, and to treat everyone with dignity. Our father taught us that kindness is strength, that commitment matters, and that true love is worth fighting for. Together they showed us what a good marriage looks like, what a good life looks like. We are all better people because they were our parents." The other children spoke as well, sharing memories and lessons learned. The grandchildren and great-grandchildren added their own tributes. By the end, everyone was in tears, but they were tears of gratitude as much as grief. The ranch continued to thrive under William's management, and eventually under Nathan's. It remained in the family, passed down through generations, always a reminder of what Yates and Luna had built together. Sarah's school continued for many years, educating children and promoting understanding. Thomas's furniture became collectible, prized examples of blended artistic traditions. The twins continued their work, one in medicine and one in art, both making positive impacts on their community. The story of Yates and Luna became a family legend, told and retold to each new generation. It was a story of love conquering prejudice, of two people from different worlds creating their own world together, of ordinary people doing extraordinary things through commitment and courage. And on that hill overlooking the Broken Creek Ranch, two headstones stood side by side. Yates Emerson, beloved husband, father, and grandfather. Luna Grayhawk Emerson, beloved wife, mother, and grandmother. Between them, engraved in stone, were the words "together, always together." The ranch they built still stands, green and prosperous, worked by their descendants who never forget the love story that made it all possible. And sometimes, especially at sunset, people swear they can feel the presence of two spirits on that porch, sitting side by side, watching the stars come out, still together after all these years. From a stormy night when a desperate woman sought shelter for her horse to a legacy that lasted generations, Yates and Luna Emerson proved that love, respect, and determination can overcome any obstacle and build something truly beautiful. Theirs was a love story for the ages, set in the Wild West but universal in its truths. That kindness matters, that love conquers all, and that two people who truly commit to each other can create miracles.